Oh my goodness. So you want to get into the invert hobby and you don't want anything that is venomous. I got you. Today we are going to talk about 5 inverts you can keep that are not venomous at all and are generally a lot of fun to keep. So this is not in any particular order. I'm just going to talk about my favorite non-venomous inverts, but I will say that the last one we talk about is my favorite if I had to choose. But the first one we talk about is also one of my favorites, which is Pringles, my Vinegaroon. This right here is a Vinegaroon, and you probably have noticed that it's missing its tail. I genuinely have no idea what happened. Like, we've been fine, and then one day I just noticed that the tail was gone. Apparently this is a thing that happens and it'll grow back. This is not a spider or a scorpion. It is related to them, however, but it does not bite, sting, or pinch. What it does is it shakes this little stick thing on their tail. It shakes it when it feels threatened and it sprays an acid, which is just vinegar. Now they do look absolutely terrifying though. Mine is really pretty though. She has these like red antenna things. These guys are generally pretty easy to keep. Mine eats a ton. In fact, I think it's a little tubby, like not to shame anybody, but alternatively, if you're not into this specific one, there's also the tailless whip scorpions, which are very similar except they're arboreal. But between the two, if I had to pick, I do prefer this one, and I just keep them in this Tarantula Cribs cube. It spends a lot of time inside the cork, but it does come out pretty regularly. It does take food from the tongs. This is definitely one of my top favorite non-venomous inverts. The next invert I'm gonna recommend is the hissing cockroach. I had the Halloween Madagascar hissing cockroaches, which I personally like better, obviously, because I love Halloween, but the regular ones are cool too. They're inexpensive because a lot of people use them as feeders, but they're actually also very personable pets. Now, I know a lot of people are freaked out by keeping roaches because they're afraid that they're gonna procreate too much and escape and infest their house. The Halloween ones that I kept unfortunately never bred, and I actually wanted them to, but the conditions have to be like a certain way, and if you're not recreating those conditions, then typically they're not really going to breed, and if they do, it won't be much. These guys are very handleable. They don't mind being handled at all. They do make the little hissing noise if they get uncomfortable. Oh my goodness. So pretty. And they're very easy to keep. You can keep them in a bin if you don't want anything fancy, or you can set up a nice little enclosure like I did for my Halloween hissing cockroaches. I fed mine carrots a lot. They really like carrots. They like pretty much anything you give them. Dog food, even cat food, fish food, all of that. And yeah, obviously they're not gonna hurt you. The only thing is that their poop can irritate some people's allergies, so just be aware of that, especially if you're like deep cleaning. I would mask up just because you don't want to be exposed to their poop too much, or you can actually build an allergy to it over time. Now let's talk about mantis. I have a love-hate relationship with mantis because they are a little bit more fragile and short-lived than other inverts, specifically spiders, but they are very rewarding to keep and grow out. I've kept various kinds of mantis. I've had really good luck with some species and I've had not so good luck with other species. You do have to be more conscious of their humidity and their diet compared to other inverts. Like, you can't get away with as much as you could with like a roach or even a spider. Be aware of what species of mantis you get because they're not all the same, and some of them have a little bit more intermediate requirements than the other, but it's all doable as long as you do your research. They're definitely way more interactive than a tarantula or a spider, and they do tolerate some handling. I wouldn't necessarily recommend a mantis for a kid unless they're like very gentle with their hands. Their setups can also be a little bit more complicated because they do need height to do some molting, so be aware of however you're setting them up. You can do like a plastic deli when they're smaller, but as they get bigger, you might need to go all the way up to like a small Exoterra or Tarantula Cribs treehouse. Just make sure there's mesh on the top because they do need that mesh to molt. They'll hold on and they will like slowly emerge and kind of fall. And if they don't have that space and that depth to molt, then they will die during the molt. So very important. Again, definitely make sure you do the research into whatever species you like. All in all, they make great pets as long as you're aware of all of that. Now, if you want something a little bit more hardy and a lot less high maintenance, then we're gonna talk about about beetles, specifically the death feigning beetles. These were the first pet that I actually got Fiona, and she took care of them pretty much by herself. If you have a kid that's like begging you to get into spiders or something and you want to start somewhere a little bit less intimidating with an animal that certainly won't hurt you, death feigning beetles are great. You can do a communal with them. They can be kept with a variety of other beetles and insects. Even velvet ants do well in setups with them, which is pretty freaking cool. But don't get a kid a velvet ant because very painful sting. But yeah, they're super cool. You can set up a whole community tank with them. They do not need any humidity. In fact, too much humidity can actually be dangerous for them. So really just like some fresh carrots here and there should be enough for them to like be hydrated. The ones that we kept, we mainly fed like fish food and little pieces of carrots and just like whatever scraps we had. They seemed to enjoy all of it. So they were not picky at all. Their bodies are really, really hard. They have this very hard armor. Not even a tarantula fang could pierce it. Like, it's very hard. So if they do take an occasional tumble, you don't really need to worry about them getting hurt except on their legs. So again, you know, you don't want to be throwing them around, but if you have a kid, you know, and one kind of rolls off their hand onto the floor from like this height, like generally they'll be okay. And they're really cool because they do have quite a long lifespan. I believe it's up to 8 years, but do be aware that they are generally all wild caught. So by the time they're getting caught and brought into like pet stores, you don't know how old they are. They could already be 7 years old. They could be 1 year old, you know, so you don't really know for sure how long you're gonna have them. But if you're getting like a nice little communal, I would say grab like a good solid 5 of them, and you know, it's a lot of fun. Get like a 10-gallon, fill it with sand, lots of cholla wood, and even though the fake little cactus, they love to climb, they are pretty active, but yeah, they do play dead, so be aware. Even if they look dead, give them a couple hours because they might surprise you. I've had them play dead for like 45 minutes up to like almost 2 hours. Just be aware that they will fake their death, hence death feigning beetles. Now lastly, we are gonna talk about my favorite non-venomous invert to keep. And no, these are not their official home enclosures. This is just for now, but check out this. Oh my goodness, hi. Millipedes. Millipedes are my favorite non-venomous invert to keep. They are so cool. They come in a variety of species, sizes, colors. You can get like little ones that look like roly-polies, or you can go up to these big pretty ones, and oh my gosh, this girl is like my absolute favorite millipede that I've ever kept. I love her so much. Now, of course, these setups are just temporary, but you can set up a really cool big display tank for something like this, or you can do a big bin, which we're gonna do some big bins for these guys, I think. So there's been some debate on what kind of species these are. This is what I think it's settled on. The giant African millipedes are also really awesome to keep. I very much recommend those. They're definitely much easier to find as well, and probably less expensive than these, although their price tag is unfortunately still a little high. But millipedes pretty much eat whatever you throw in there. I like to give mine mushrooms, and so they'll happily munch away on mushrooms. Fish food, I give them leftover turnips and collard greens that my bearded dragon didn't eat. Oh, I give them turtle food sometimes, like the kind that has like little peas and stuff in it. They'll just eat that as well. But yeah, it kind of took a little bit for me to be won over by these guys, but I'm obsessed. And yeah, definitely stay tuned for their big tubs. I'm like debating on if I should keep them together or not, because there's been some debate on like if these are the same species, but I guess they are. It's very weird. But yeah, those are my favorite non-venomous inverts to keep. Of course, there are others that you could throw into the mix, like isopods. Oh, and there's also like, I have a giant, right now I have a larva, but like beetle, Hercules beetle. I have one of those, but again, it's a larva, and it's gonna be a larva for probably like another year or so. So there's not much to report there, at least not yet. But yeah, I don't know. I hope this video helped you guys out if you're looking for something to keep that's non-venomous. These are all great alternatives to spiders. And make sure you guys don't forget to grab your gumdrop plushie. She is also non-venomous, just the stuffed animal though. The actual one is a little venomous, just a little bit. If you want to grab one, the link is down below, or you can go to tarantulakat.com. Thank you so much to everybody who's supported this. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Like this video if you did, subscribe if you're not, and you want to be. Don't forget I have an Instagram that I use probably way too much. It's at tarantula.kat. You can go follow me there. I also have a website, tarantulakat.com. Go check it out. I will see you guys soon. Let's get into the members picks.